Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose again for the second time today. And the much anticipated February Nintendo Direct just ended, where they announced and revealed more than 40 total games. Yeah, this was the Nintendo Direct everybody was waiting for. But here's the question. Was it any good? Was it worth the wait, and did it meet expectations? Now, I've not seen any reactions up to this point, but for my own personal immediate reaction is yes, this absolutely was worth the build up. Now, I feel like it did start off a little slow and everything. I was a little worried there for a while, but I feel like in many ways, this was the Direct fans have been asking for about a year now. This really was the Direct that fans deserve. There were some big announcements here. There were some surprises. There was some of those much requested rumors that finally came true. And we also got some surprise release date for new games that are just kind of here now. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into this and go over some of the key highlights, starting off with some of those highly rumored games. Most importantly, we need to talk about that Metroid Prime remaster / remake that we have been hearing about for a few years now. We have been burned on this game for such a long time, but I'm happy to say it is now finally official. It is absolutely true. It is finally here, and I mean literally as in right now. You can actually go play this game tonight if you want the digital version. Now, if you prefer physical instead, as I very much do myself, it'll instead release on February 22nd, but there you go. Those rumors have been true all along. Yes, it took us a while to get here, but Jeff Grubb, he has been redeemed. I mean, sure, his hair didn't exactly make it all the way through, but he was correct after all. He was just kind of wrong as to when they'd actually announce it, but nonetheless, this remaster looks absolutely gorgeous. It seems to be a big upgrade in terms of its visuals, but more importantly, it's an upgrade for its controls. See, the thing about Metroid Prime is that, yes, it is viewed as an all-time great, but when it comes to new players that's never played these games before, it's not necessarily a game that aged incredibly well because of its dated controls. They didn't use dual analog sticks for its original release, but here with the remaster, that has now changed. You will have free control of its camera this time around using those dual analog sticks. However, if for whatever reason, if you prefer the original control scheme, which that's okay, each to their own, they, however, are giving you that option as well. Either way, I am just so ridiculously happy right now. I am stoked, absolutely pumped to play this game. I mean, I'm still going to hold off for the physical edition and everything. I do prefer to get it that way. Thankfully, I do have Hogwarts Legacy to tide me over until then, but I mean, after that, I am certainly jumping into the Metroid Prime remaster. In fact, I really just feel like the future of Metroid is looking bright, and actually about that, I do want to go and point something else out. Previous rumors did say that Metroid Prime 2 and 3 might be coming over to the Switch as well. Now, from the sounds of it, they're not going to be full-blown remasters like we're seeing here with Prime 1, but ultimately, it sounds like we could end up getting all 3 of the original Prime games on the Switch before the eventual Metroid Prime 4. So hopefully all of that does eventually come to fruition. Now, the other ongoing rumor that has burned us time and time again has been the expansion for Nintendo Switch Online. I mean, it's never really been a very well-hidden secret that Nintendo is probably working on other expansions, but it was another one of those Metroid situations. We just kept waiting for an official announcement, and, well, the good news here is that they did do that today. They announced both Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games here, though, and here's the thing with a caveat. Now, the good news here is that if all you want are Game Boy games, then it will be available today for Switch Online subscribers. However, when it comes to Game Boy Advance games, much like the Nintendo 64, they are instead for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack subscribers. Now, I'm not really overly surprised by this. They need to make expansion pack more enticing. And actually, I'm a little surprised they didn't also include Game Boy in expansion pack exclusively. So I view that as overall good news in both scenarios. But still, though, expansion pack is starting to look much more worth it now, especially after you hear about some of the launch games. I mean, this is a really good lineup of games. I mean, just Go ahead and check it out here. For Game Boy, this includes Tetris, Mario Land 2, Zelda Link's Awakening, Gargoyle's Quest, Game & Watch Gallery 3, Alone in the Dark, Metroid 2, yeah, some more Metroid love there, then Wario Land 3, and Kirby Dream Land. Now, they do also have more planned beyond the launch, such as Zelda Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. These are excellent, excellent Zelda titles if you've never played them before. Very puzzle-driven, especially with Oracle of Ages. As for Game Boy Advance games, this includes Mario Advance 4, WarioWare, Kiri Kiri Kirikin, Mario Kart Advance, Mario and Luigi, and then lastly, Zelda Minish Cap. Again, more games are planned, such as Golden Sun. That's one that fans have been wanting to return for such a long time now. But I mean, really, in both cases here, these are fantastic, fantastic lineups. Seriously, go play games like Zelda Minish Cap. This has actually always been one of my personal favorite Zelda games ever made. Not just favorite Game Boy Advance games. I'm saying just period, one of my favorite Zelda games ever made. I used to love this game growing up, and to this day, it looks so good from a visual standpoint. That's really kind of the thing about the Game Boy Advance, is their games have aged very, very well. But I think especially in the case of Zelda Minish Cap. Also, go check out Mario and Luigi. If you miss old Mario RPGs like Paper Mario as an example, this one is a must-play. Again, it's also aged very, very well. To top all of this off, though, like other Nintendo Switch Online games, they will offer online play. Now, another welcome surprise here, though, was Pikmin 4. I did say that this showcase started off a little slow, but they did show Pikmin 4 right away, which was a pleasant surprise. I've always felt that Pikmin is one of the most overlooked and really just underappreciated Nintendo IP, and I have to say, Pikmin 4 is looking really good, especially with that new perspective that you can play in. I feel like being closer to the characters and their point of views, it brings the Pikmin universe alive in a way that we haven't really experienced before. Now, of course, they added some new characters and mechanics like a dog that helps you, but the big news here is that it's releasing and actually relatively soon, being July 21st. Nintendo really does have a new game pretty much planned for every month of the year so far, and that continues on with Pikmin 4. Another exciting surprise here, though, was the Etrian Odyssey collection, which includes the first 3 games of the franchise. Now, if you don't know what these games are, they are dungeon-crawling RPGs developed by Atlas. Yes, the same studio behind the beloved Persona games, and in Etrian Odyssey case, I mean, they are kind of one of those better entries for the dungeon crawling genre. These are a little bit more old school and everything. You do play in a first-person view, and you kind of map out the dungeons yourself as you explore. These were originally Nintendo DS and 3DS games, but that's one of the interesting aspects about this release. Of course, the 3DS eShop is on its way out, but we're seeing ports here giving fans a new and easier way to jump into these games. Being on a single screen, though, that will be a little different. I'm curious if it will be as good as the 3DS version in that sense, but we'll see how all that works. But it is planned to release on June 1st. Another 3DS entry that's returning, though, as well, is Fantasy Life. Now, this is another game that I feel like a lot of you all probably aren't going to recognize right away, but this is probably one of the better hidden gems in the 3DS library, where it's like this life sim with RPG elements. Think of something like Animal Crossing meets Final Fantasy's job system. That's kind of how this game works, and it might sound like a bit of a weird mashup, but it's actually a game that won over a lot of fans. This is a level 5 game, the same studio behind Ni no Kuni and Yokai Watch, so it's actually just really nice to see them return here with a new Western release, and actually from an IP I didn't think that we'd see return. Luckily, though, we are getting a new entry titled Fantasy Life, The Girl Who Steals Time, and it will launch later this year exclusively for the Nintendo Switch. And actually, speaking of level 5, again, it's really nice to see them just kind of return here. There has been a concern as of recent that they're just done in the West, but they actually announced another game here, and I think this was one of the most welcome and surprising announcements of the night that will have a very specific community just overjoyed because a new Professor Layton game was announced. I believe it was titled New World Steam, and if you don't know, this franchise was monstrous back in the day for the Nintendo DS. These are excellent puzzle games with some fun overall characters, and they sold extremely well back on the Nintendo DS. Now, They did also have some 3DS games as well, but I think they kind of waned in terms of sales the longer they kind of went on. But still, this is a beloved franchise and a very high quality one at that. So to see it return is kind of heartwarming, to say the least. I was not expecting this one, but I absolutely loved this announcement. Yet another surprise, though. I mean, like I said, there was several surprises here, but Baten Kaitos is returning as well with a remaster of both 1 and 2. Now, these were rumored prior to this announcement. We did talk about this before, but I guess it was real after all. I mean, like I said before, I don't really know why anybody would make a rumor up for such a niche franchise like this. I can't imagine you'd get too many clicks off of it, so why lie about something like this? But these are beloved GameCube games that has built a bit of a cult following over the years. Honestly, I've never played them myself, but I do hear great things about them, and hey, maybe it'll get an even bigger fan base this time around when they release this summer for the Nintendo Switch. Now, we also finally got Advance Wars Reboot Camp's release date. I mean, it's been done for a while, but this is one of those games that was highly expected to be here, and it very much was. It is now set to release on April 21st, kind of filling out the one singular month Nintendo didn't have a game plan this year. There was that previous rumor it would shadow launch this month in February. Apparently that person lied. But the good news here is that this game will finally release barring any other craziness. Its release date, honestly, probably is one of the wilder stories in gaming right now, but glad to see it finally get its release date here. Another release date that I want to key in on, though, is Sea of Stars. I did predict we'd hear about it today. Unfortunately, I was wrong about Hollow Knight Silksong. We still don't know about that game. But in the meantime, Sea of Stars looks like a great Chrono Trigger-inspired RPG. Definitely one of the best-looking independent games this year. And truthfully, it might just be one of the best JRPGs this year, period. And it is now officially set to release on August 29th. Even better is that you can play its demo today. For that matter, you can also check out a demo for Octopath Traveler 2, so there's a lot of good games that you can play tonight on your Nintendo Switch. It's a little bit of an overload, honestly, especially with Metroid Prime Remastered coming tonight. I think that's pretty much about it with some of the big reveals, though, but there are a few smaller games that I thought looked pretty good as well. One is Police Deca. This is like a detective JRPG mashup. These games do tend to do well on the Switch, but I thought it was a pretty unique and interesting looking idea with an art style that will likely excel on the Nintendo Switch. Now, I mean to be fair, this game could turn out to be meh for all we know. I'm certainly not sold on this game, but it did still catch my attention at the very least, so I thought we'd at least highlight it here. It will release sometime in 2023, though. Other than that, though, Rain Code is another one that I think continues to look good. I mean, I'm probably a little biased here. I am a big fan of Danganronpa, and this is coming from the same writer, and for that matter, I think it looks similar in a lot of ways. It's more of a 3D take with a different setting. You do play as a detective that investigates a series of mysterious events, and you have some supernatural abilities, but once you collect all the evidence, you then battle it out kind of to expose some of the inconsistencies that you found, and that part is similar to the Danganronpa series. So, I mean, if you like Danganronpa, which you should because it's excellent, let me tell you, but it will now be out on June 30th. So, there you go. Those were my main highlights, but hang on. Of course, I can't forget about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. They did finally give us more of a gameplay trailer, though honestly, I wish they would have revealed or talked about it more. It does appear to be a darker Zelda game, which I'm fascinated about that. You can see some Sky Islands, which are kind of cool. And they showed Link riding around on some vehicle-based machines and things like that. But I feel like I still don't know a whole lot about this game. I mean, I'm still waiting for them to answer the question of whether or not Tears of the Kingdom has more traditional-based dungeons. For as popular as Breath of the Wild is, to me, and I can only speak for myself, I've never felt it's the best Zelda game. Being the most popular does not equate to being the best. Now, don't get me wrong, Zelda Breath of the Wild is a great open world game, and if it is your favorite, by all means. But it's also lacking in terms of dungeon design, as they replaced those with shrines, which I did not feel was an adequate replacement. Dungeons are an incredibly important part to Zelda, and I know I'm not alone in this. So I think I can kind of speak for that part of the community. We want to know if traditional dungeons are coming back, or are they just going with more of the same and just having those shrines once again. That's the confirmation that I'm waiting for, but again, I think there's still a lot to like from this particular trailer. On top of all the things that they showed, they did also announce a collector's edition and even a new amiibo. Definitely get those if you are interested. However, there was one other part about this announcement, and that is that Tears of the Kingdom will be Nintendo's first $70 game. So there it is. PlayStation's doing it, Xbox is doing it, and now Nintendo is also moving over to those $70 games as well, which I'm sure fans won't necessarily be thrilled about. Prices are increasing, and I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts about that in the comments below. What do you think about Nintendo moving over to those $70 games as well? That's pretty much my main highlights, though. If I forgot about any specific game, I'll probably just talk about it tomorrow on News Dose. But before I go, of course, let's take a look at the poll of the day, where I asked you all, what letter grade would you give Nintendo Direct 2.8.2023? And as you can see here, most of you all did seem pretty satisfied with this showcase, with 20% of you giving it an A, 41% of you gave it a B, 23% of you gave it a C, 7% of you gave it a D, and then 10% of you gave it an F. So that means 61% of you all gave it an A or B, meaning the vast majority did enjoy this event, which I actually very much sit in that group as well. I'd probably give this one a B myself. I feel like they could have shown more of Zelda. That was kind of my letdown there. I feel like there's still more questions that needs to be answered. But outside of that, I thought there was a lot of really interesting announcements here. There was some great surprises. Metroid Prime. I mean, come on, finally. I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, I want to go and give this one a B as well. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.